You guys want to jump on the red carpet?
Yeah, what's up,
Hello,
bro?
my friend.
Alex,
nice to
man.
see
Nice
you.
to meet you. Nice to meet
Welcome
you.
back.
Thank you.
Yes.
What's up, Melissa?
Alex, thank you so much for your time. Just come up on stage.
Yeah. And first and foremost, guys, before talking about myself, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Epic Talks. I've been part of the Epic Talks community for a while now. Melissa's doing an incredible job. You've grown through so many locations, so many partnerships, so many incredible things. Thank you for creating an environment for us to learn from each other and grow. I'm Alex Quin. I'm a marketer. I help scale brands. I have my own personal brands. I have passion projects of mine, podcasting. I have a magazine called Contrast Magazine where we feature artists in the American and Latin spaces. And all in all, I help brands scale to 6 and 7 figures a month using paid digital strategies. So not only do I help others grow their brands, but I have my own as well.
So can we give it up for Alex?
Thank you.
All right, so Alex, you're huge into PR. You're the creator of Hustle Inspires Hustle. You're the owner of a magazine now, and you've interviewed Grant Cardone. You've interviewed all these amazing pop stars, Luis Fonsi recently, other celebrities. And thank you again for being here. So I want to know what is authority hijacking? Because when you mentioned that to me, I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, authority hijacking is something I not recently, probably in the last 2 years, learned from one of my mentors, Jeremy Haynes. And it essentially has a lot to do with collaboration. You're not hijacking anything. You're not really stealing anything. But ultimately, what we're all doing here tonight is we're meeting with each other. We're creating value. We're providing value. We're figuring out ways to help each other. During the time of the pandemic and even before, we saw a spike in collaborations between brands and other people engaging with each other. These brands are using each other's fame, influence, track record, and experience to mix those audiences, to bring attention to each other. And what essentially authority hijacking is in the public speaking world, in the PR world, and in the entertainment industry is aligning with people who are doing incredible things, collabing with people like you were just mentioning ways that you could be able to potentially work with Jen. Her audience pushes you, your audience pushes them, and you guys provide value for each other. There's ways to do it and there's ways not to do it, right? What you want to do is you want to be known for something that you actually did, for actually having helped people, for actually bringing something to the table, not just going to an event, taking a picture with somebody and saying that you're doing business with them. That's essentially something that you want to stay away from. But essentially, authority hijacking is when people see you associate with people of other brands, of other industries that are leading industries, they automatically may assume that you're somebody that could be trusted, that you're somebody that's in the industry, that's somebody that is actually a power player, and that helps you elevate your social status within a specific echo chamber.
So basically just building relationships.
And actually bringing value, So when you're seeing with people, when you're photographed with people, exactly.
Being
so it's
of
real.
service, that's I think is truly one of the number one keys to building a successful business.
Right.
What is the press usually looking to talk about right now?
Well, everybody usually, I have an incredible story. I have a great story, fantastic story, and this is what the press hears all the time. You have to put yourself in their shoes. And what the press is most of the time looking to talk about is what's new, what's popping. They're looking to feature things and people that are breaking barriers. So if you're looking to start a business, if you're looking to maybe push your personal brand in the press, you have to talk about what value am I bringing to the reader? Is this just about me versus how can I help you?
Support again, yeah.
Exactly. And anything in business, you actually want to walk the walk, talk the talk. And it's important for you to approach the press in that way. There's several ways to approach the press. You could approach editors. You could find them on LinkedIn. You could find them on Clubhouse. It's very easy to find editors on Clubhouse, on Instagram. You could pitch them a story that actually brings value to their audience. It's not just you flexing a ton of your stats. Or you could work with publicists. You just have to know how to approach the press. The best way to generate publicity for your brand is to collaborate, to be out there, to get your product or service enhanced, to get people actually using it, talking about it, experiencing it, and documenting that however you can. You don't need a Hollywood production to talk about your product. You just need to talk about your product. YouTube is a great tool for you to be able to do that through keywords, through many things that YouTube is able to help you with, through writing books, through a lot of things that we're learning here today, just sharing content about your business, about how people are benefiting from your business is ultimately what's going to get you that type of attention. Things that are trending, it's very important, right? A lot of these press outlets are copying each other all the time, right? And if you set a nice trend, people will start talking about that trend. You start seeing it on other outlets. You just have to, if you're going to come into a business, you have to, and you're going to come into a category, you have to understand your value proposition. Like, what are you doing differently than other people?
Yeah, what's value proposition?
Your value proposition is who are you as a business, what are you bringing to the table, and what makes you different than everybody else? Why am I shopping with you? Why am I going to spend my money with you versus everybody else that's offering the same thing? If you come into a category of business and you're offering something completely new or with a twist, that's something that the press, media, influencers, or different type of people are going to want to talk about. It's going to make it easier for you to be able to share your message.
Do you think it's important to create a media kit in order to approach them, or you don't need that?
No, it's absolutely very important to have a media kit. Media kit is something that has helped me tremendously. For my podcast, we've had 77 guests. We've had Grant Cardone, Randy Zuckerberg, Andy Frisella. We've had a ton of great guests. And that helps a lot. Something that really helps a lot, and you guys should note this down if you're not using the software, loom.com, Loom.com. You could literally open a pitch deck, start the Loom plugin on your Chrome browser. It'll start recording you plus the screen, and you can literally go over your pitch deck. Because a lot of people send pitch decks, and they think that the person reading it is going to understand it the way they do because they're so in it. But a lot of the times, it's just a PDF to them with a bunch of information. So if you're able to give a lot of context with your voice, with your video, you're going to get a lot further. When you're trying to book guests on your podcast, when you're trying to book leads for your business, it's important to have that personal touch and for people to see that you're really talking to them directly.
That's great.
Think about your service. Think about your business. Think about something that nobody's done before. Have a really nice value proposition. Have something that other people aren't doing. Go above and beyond for the customer. Do something that people are afraid to do because they don't want to have to put the time, they don't want to have to put the effort into it and associate with other brands. Get your products in hands, get people talking about your products because it's easier for people to talk about your product or feature your product in the press or in the media if you have resources, credible resources, blogs, videos, YouTubes. If you don't have all the time to do that, try to get on podcasts. Reach out to podcasters. We know podcasting is a great platform to be able to connect with other people or really break the ice. If you're really able to tell your full story in a podcast, you send that to a reporter, you send that to a writer, you send that to a blogger, that gives them a much better idea than maybe just a pitch deck, or you just quickly saying on DM, hey, I want to get featured on Forbes. Again, people send it to me all the time. I write on Forbes, I write on 1:37 p.m., I write on a ton of other press outlets. People just reach out to me, I want to be on Forbes. Look, for what do you want to be on Forbes? Like, who are you? What are you doing? How are you helping people? Why would people want to read about you? It's not about being rude or not wanting to feature people, but you have to come correct at people so you make it super easy for them to say yes to you. It's like undoubtedly, like they're going to say yes because you're so prepared and you have so much track record, so much references to be able to bounce off of.
What is brand voice?
Brand voice goes back to also value proposition. Like, how do you speak to your brand? There's brands that choose to speak to people differently. Some brands are blunt, some brands are funny, some brands are strictly informative and professional. But ultimately, your brand voice is how you speak to the end consumer, what you're telling them, what you're teaching them, and how you want to be known, right? Chipotle is a great one. I always talk about it. They're super funny on social media. Slim Jim is also super funny on Instagram and other platforms. They're very funny with their comments. That's their brand voice. They're comical, they're cool, they engage with their audience. You have to choose. You got to read the room. You got to know your room and know how you speak to them and base your brand off that. Base your branding, base your communications, your banners, your posters, your headlines, your billboards, whatever it is, however you're communicating with people, your podcast, having that tone of voice, having that type of communication, that slang, however it is that your echo chamber talks or communicates, be able to mirror that so they feel like they know you and they can relate to you.
I love that.
What are your tips to stand out in, let's say, a crowded market? Let's say you're even general with marketing or even getting a little bit more specific.
I've made a lot of mistakes in my podcasting journey. I've had my podcast for about 3 years now, and I'm about to launch a second, which Melissa brought up. One's in English, one's in Spanish. And what I've learned is really think about your guests. Really think about who you're bringing on, because a lot of people start a podcast and get excited and they want to bring everyone on. And you have to understand the room. You have to understand your industry. You got to be able to read the room. You got to know what kind of people you're inviting on and how those people interact with each other. Do those people like each other? Are those people respectable? Are these people actually doing what they're doing? Once you figure that out and actually have the right people on the podcast, you're going to have a filter. You're harder to get a hold of. You have more value. So we were talking about supply and demand, right? Another thing is that a lot of people look to create a lot of episodes and pump them out really fast, which is important because you want to keep your crowd engaged. But one of the things you want to concentrate on while doing that is creating great content for your guests. So your guest actually is encouraged to share it, so you portray them correctly. Part of portraying them correctly is preparing correctly, knowing enough about them in order to make them look good, make them be able to voice their message correctly, therefore them being more likely to share it. Authority hijacking, other people will want to be on it, right? That's extremely important, because a lot of people have a podcast where they post their episodes or they post their content to the same people every week, and they're not putting attention to making sure that the person you're interviewing, or maybe if you just have a solo podcast, putting enough attention into distributing the right content or the right message to get people to be able to hooked on. So it's have a good filter, understand who you're bringing on, understand your industry, understand what people you're bringing on your industry, and also, like, let's say you're inviting a big guest on your podcast and you're letting him know, hey, I brought this and that person on. Make sure that they maybe know each other, like each other, don't have any type of beef, because that's also a thing that people don't talk about. There's pressure in industries, there's shit that people don't talk about. You have to be able to read that room, and as long as you're able to read the room and understand the content that you're distributing, you're gonna have a lot easier time standing. It's funny you bring that up, because I'm actually working on a children's book myself. We were talking about that before we came on stage. We've been doing it for the past 2 years, and from that experience that I have, I can tell you one of the best things is, you brought up Amazon. Go on Amazon, look at children's books that you feel fall within your category, go on the reviews and read all the bad reviews, so you know what parents don't want. Because you have to understand that you're making a children's book, it's for a kid, it's for the parent. The parent is buying it, the kid isn't buying the book. So if the parent is buying the book, it's because they want the kid to be entertained, they want the kid to learn a value. There's many reasons why. So first thing you could do is you could do an audit of a bunch of books, of the one-star reviews, what people don't want. And then go to the 5-star reviews. What are people looking for? What do they like? A lot of things that parents like with children's books is for the children's book not only to tell a story, but for it to have an activity, a coloring book, make the kid think, make the kid write something. I think that's one of the best things you could do to be able to stand out, because you already know what's working and not working in the market. And one of the biggest things in children's books right now is teaching, instilling values, teaching each other how to respect each other, how to mingle with others, how to understand that others are different and not everybody's going to be like you. Those are all things that are really important, and we just have to think, with all of us evolving, all of us understanding that the generations before us need to be well educated now, and now younger people are thinking more about what we're telling the kids. What message are we trying to give? It's not just about entertaining and making it funny and keeping them busy on an iPad, but what's staying with them in their heart as they grow, as they become teenagers, and as they become ultimately adults.
That's amazing. That was great advice. Give it up for the panel. Amazing. Thank you guys.
We gotta talk, bro. Albert? Yeah, so what we do is we actually train people how to drive supercars.
Right.
Girls that are like passionate, like real passionate car girls that are in the industry.
Nice.
I think I just got your text. Yep. So I'm gonna reply with all my information, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
I know that you do more like the writing and brand building, so I'm interested in my habits, lifestyle, okay, and I'm like that.
Or Monday.com, whatever, like project management tool.
Okay.
I just really prioritize like there's all these things that we want to do, and like kind of like not having shiny object syndrome, like understanding like you're somebody that's able to multitask,
Yeah,
but like
it's
I
very
would
easy.
I would expect.
Exactly, so I listen to Gary Vee a lot, and
Yeah.
it's like, wow.
Offer there. As far as my magazine and my other businesses, you saw ad space, pretty much my offer. It's hard for me to explain to people what I do because I have several businesses, but like my offer is a marketer. Like people sit down with me, like I look at their strategy.